When it was first announced, people said the concept was doomed to fail, but not only did it succeed, but I think there's 52 great things about 52.
Woof woof!
Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we're back with another video. Now, recently as part of the season of events, I decided to go back and read 52, the weekly series from DC that was the follow-up to Infinite Crisis, featuring some of the biggest names that were working at the company. You've got Jeff Johns, Mark Waid, Greg Rucka, Grant Morrison, and with that many people working on it, it's impressive that they managed to make this work. So instead of doing one of my usual reviews, I wanted to do something a bit different. Because yeah, it's not perfect, it does have its flaws, but the fact that this is as good as it is deserves to be celebrated. So yeah, because there's so many things to go through, I'm not going to waste any more time, and we're just going to jump into it. Kicking off this list from issue 1, we've got Booster Gold's introduction. Now this may be the nostalgia talking, but this to me was my first introduction to this character, and everything about him was perfect, from the way that he entered the scene, to all the advertising that he was doing, and also just that undercurrent that is probably a little bit dodgy. It's pretty much everything you could hope for from the guy that's going to be the poster boy for this entire series, and you know what, from his very first scene, they completely knocked it out of the park. Number 2, I'm going with Renee being hired by the Question on Kane Street. Yeah, if the Booster Gold thing was nostalgia bias, this might be recency because of the fact that I just loved her character so much in Gotham Central. So to see her embarking on this new quest, especially by a character that's so mysterious but so intriguing at the same time, just meant it was one of the many great storylines that they had going on in this series. Next up from issue 3, I've got pretty much everything that Black Adam does. Yeah, saying he's already a villainous guy is a bit of an understatement, but to see him rip a guy in half just to prove a point, yeah, that's gonna make you next level, and I can't imagine Dwayne The Rock Johnson doing it, although I could very easily be proven wrong because I didn't bother watching that movie. Number 4, we've got how Adam Strange and the gang tried to save the universe but failed. This was from issue 5, and I just loved how they summed everything up in such a quick way, but they still managed to convey all of the emotion, because I can't lie, Adam Strange and the Rann-Thanagar War was something that I completely skipped over during Infinite Crisis, but I like that 52 gave me a way to catch up with these characters without feeling left behind. Number 5, we've got the Green Lantern battle at the Wall of China. This was from issue 6, and it's just another example of a great action scene that's sprinkled throughout, and yeah, 52 was sold on the premise, so it's not going to have Batman, Superman or Wonder Woman running to save the day at every opportunity, but there is still big key players from the universe present here, and I like that they get a moment in the spotlight. Number 6, we've got the History of the DC Universe backup features. Now I only got the full effect of these because I was mostly reading this on DC Universe Infinite, but especially when I was first getting into comics, I loved that these existed so that I could quickly catch up with what's been happening. It does mean that new readers can catch up pretty quickly, and it still manages to highlight some of the finer details. And also beyond just that, I love the George Perez art. Number 7, I'm going with how it actually followed a weekly structure within each issue. So yeah, this was released weekly, and it's so surprising that they never missed an issue, but at the same time, each issue takes place over the course of 7 days. I think it's so great that they managed to keep up with that, and they never really missed a beat. And when I thought a bit more about it, there could be 2 days between characters, and it felt like they'd actually lived between those 2 days. They weren't just sat waiting for the story to catch back up with them, and I think they pulled this off so well when it would have been so easy for this to just become a gimmick. Number 8, from issue 7, I'm going with Ralph Dibny learns Booster's secrets. Now I'm going to touch on Ralph's story a little bit later because he's such a massive integral part of 52, but for him to be the person to discover that Booster's been a little bit dodgy and he's hiring actors in place of villains so that he can look like he's saving the day, and just the fact that Ralph sticks by his morals, he knows it isn't right and he stands up for what he believes in. This was something that was bound to happen in the series, but it always surprises me just how early on it unfolds. But it's a great moment, a great confrontation, and I love revisiting this scene. Number 9, from issue 9, I'm going with Steel gatecrashes Luthor's party. Booster might have been my favourite character, but Dr. Irons was the one that I wanted to be, and just seeing him have a no-nonsense approach and literally breaking through the wall of Luthor's party to stand up for what he knows is right, yeah, it means it's definitely going to make it onto this list. Number 10, we've got Clark does what it takes to get the exclusive. Yeah, Superman isn't the star of 52, but I like that we still get a moment with Clark Kent, and with him at risk of losing his job and the arrival of Supernova, it's just great seeing that he is still willing to risk everything so that he can get an interview, although it does just look like he took a leaf out of Lois's book. Next up from issue 11, we've got the arrival of Batwoman. Now Kate Kane is one of my favourite members of the Bat family. I absolutely loved her during Tinian's run on Detective Comics, but her arrival in 52 is second to none. And in all honesty, if I had one criticism of this series, it'd probably be that she's not in this enough. Number 12, we've got the birth of... Oh crap, I can't say that now, I'm gonna get demonetized. Okay, I guess I can just say the birth of Black Adam's godwife. Moving swiftly on from issue 13, we've got the infiltration of the cult of Connor. I love this because it felt like the culmination of a few storylines that had been happening from issue 1. Also, you just see some big faces from the DC universe appear, so there's a lot to love here. Number 14, I've got the moment that you realise that this entire series fits into one omnibus. And if you wanted to pick this up, or any other books, I'd recommend getting them from the channel sponsors. If you're in the EU and you want free shipping and free gifts with every order, then the only place that you need to go is Comics Bugle. And to make it even better for you, and to support the channel at the same time, if you use code WOOFWOOF, you'll get 3% off all items that aren't already in a sale. And of course, if you're from North America, you already know who they are. They're the best in the game, but of course, it's organic price books. They've got great packaging, fast shipping, and amazing customer services. And if you use code WOOFWOOF, you'll get $2 off your order. And if you're ordering 3 or more books and you want them to be delivered together, make sure you use code WOOFWOOF, ship it together for 5% off your entire order. Don't worry, you can just copy and paste them from the description down below, and you can use these codes as many times as you like. Number 15, and I said there'd be spoilers because we've got the death of Booster Gold. This was from issue 15, and I remember when I was reading this when I was a child, and this really caught me by surprise. It still has that oh shit quality to it, even though I know it's not permanent. Everything from the build up to the explosion was done so in a way that I could be laughing on one page and then nearly crying on the next. Number 16, from issue 16, we've got Black Adam's wedding and the tension of the suicide bomb. Wait, I can't say that word either. But yeah, this scene made it feel like I was watching a TV show with the way it was paced, how we got little bits of information here and there, and it was just phenomenal in the way that he delivered suspense. Next up, from issue 17, we've got Lobo. Just everything Lobo. And honestly, I wish the cover of this issue hadn't spoiled his arrival. After that, from issue 18, we've got Boba the Chimp revealing that he'd solved Lost after only watching one episode. And that's even more impressive when you consider when 52 was coming out. Like, none of them had even got off the island at that point. Number 19, we're going with the origin backup stories and some of the big names that worked on them. Yeah, so after the history of the DC Universe backup features ended, they then did a 2-page spread just talking about each character. They came with great recommendations for starting stories, and it was written by the man himself, Mark fucking Waid. But also each time the artist was somebody that had some connection to the character. So for Booster Gold they had Dan Jurgens, for Nightwing they had George Perez, and it was just great that they had time to do this for some of the lesser known characters. Number 20, from issue 19, I'm going with Skeets is kind of a dick, and especially if you've read the end of this issue, then you know what I mean. Number 21, we're going with a debut and behind the scenes manipulation of Infinity Inc. Now yeah, any team that's assembled by Lex Luthor, you know that you can't trust, and especially because Steel had already taken so much of a stance against it, I was never going to be on their side. But seeing Natasha fall for some of the tactics and know it's all going to blow up in the face eventually, that stuff was great from the beginning, and I just loved that they gave them such a grand entrance. Number 22, we've got Dr. Magnus tries to escape. Now yeah, we knew something wasn't right with his surroundings, mostly because it reminded me of that specific vault from Fallout 3, but still, there's actually a bit of bleak sadness when he finally tries to escape and he just realizes that he won't be able to. Number 23, and it's such a small moment, but it's when the Question tries to seize the opportunity and become Black Adam after Osiris is born. Number 24, we've got the re-emergence of the Martian Manhunter. John Johns is such an underrated character, but he often just seems to get completely forgotten about. Yeah, sure, he's not an A-lister, but he's a massive part of the JLA, and I just love that 52 gave him a moment. Number 25, we've got the fact that the art never really had a massive dip, and there was never really a situation where they were constantly changing artists or they couldn't meet the schedule, and I'm not sure how that process works, but the fact that they got it out on time and it was still at least presentable definitely deserves a place on this list. Number 26, we've got Black Adam's dinner ending in a, let's just say, a very Florida way. That's a joke because an alligator ruined it. I've never actually been to Florida, but I hope I'm still allowed in. Number 27, we've got Ralph gets his revenge, and this feels like the conclusion that Identity Crisis was so reluctant to give us. It felt like validation, it felt earned, and I'm just glad that in the chaos that's going on throughout 52, we still get to have this moment. Yeah, it might be vindictive, but I'm just glad that his character finally got some kind of closure. After that, from issue 28, and I'm just gonna say, Red Tornado's new form. Number 29, and it's time to get real because I've got the saddest Thanksgiving dinner with the JSA, and worse so because it's in front of the fakest Thanksgiving parade. But yeah, it's just that idea that heroes are getting older, but more so I just really love how 52 was referencing events that were happening throughout the year. And yeah, check the date on the front cover, and it actually lined up. That to me is just really impressive that they could plan it out that far in advance, and it just makes me wish that I was reading this when it was coming out in single issues, even though I've never been able to celebrate Thanksgiving. Number 30, it's the dynamic duo of Nightwing and Robin. Yeah, we've seen these two work together throughout the past, and we don't have Batman in the picture, but it shows that these two characters are more than willing to defend Gotham on their own. And honestly, I kind of wish there was more series that just focused on these two characters working together, without Dick Grayson needing to to step up as Batman because Grant Morrison made that seem like it's quite a bit of a chore. Number 31, I've got Every Man Really Is a Creep, and that's me calling him that, so he really must be one. Number 32, we've got the Christmas Day montage, and more so just because that seems to be the day that Jim Gordon decided to come back to the GCPD. And yeah, if I remember correctly, that's the first time he's returned since the end of Batman No Man's Land. Number 33, and yeah, I'll even admit this might be me cheating, but I've put pretty much everything in issue 34. You've got the tension building up with Lex Luthor's plan, the sad, slow death of the Question, and you've also got Osiris protecting his sister from the new Suicide Squad by any means necessary. There's a lot to love in this one, and if I was to do a top 5 best issues, issue 34 is definitely going to be in it. Number 34, we've got the tragic moment where Lex Luthor makes it rain Superman. This was something else that I thought was inevitable, and it was still as dramatic as I thought it'd be, but somehow there's still a moment in there that manages to make me laugh. From issue 36, we've got Lobo's betrayal, but, you know, also his redemption. He's a complicated guy. Next up, from issue 37, I've got Booster Gold's reintroduction. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the story was still great when he wasn't in here, but he's my favourite character, so him being back in the picture, it's always going to be a good thing. And also just the twist surrounding him and how he managed to come back was just great. Number 37, and we're going to have to get real again because I've got Renee's futile last attempt to save Charlie. But seeing Renee, a character who's often stoic and cold, try everything that she can to keep him around, and it still not work out in the end, it just broke me. Number 38, we've got Lex finally gets his wish. Seeing Lex Luthor get powers, yeah, of course that's worthy of making it on this list. And also because it brings me on to my next point from issue 40, but it's Steel vs Luthor. And this fight is great in its own right, but honestly, this might be the most satisfying issue of the entire series. Number 40, we've got Ralph Dibny's back at it, even if it means throwing an old disabled man out of his wheelchair. But even if you're hearing that out of context, just trust me, it's justified. And next up's another Ralph point because in issue 42, he becomes a badass. It was just great to see that he wasn't this grieving, snivelling mess anymore. He'd finally got his life back together and he was finally standing up for himself. And that in and of itself should be enough to sell anybody on this series. But we're gonna get bleak again because at number 42, we've got the moment when Sobek realised that he's not hungry anymore. Yep, this moment completely took me by surprise. I wasn't prepared for it, and at the same time, it was so entertaining. And at number 43, we've got Black Adam is back, and it felt like a time bomb that was waiting to happen, that you knew throughout the entire series something was going to make Black Adam snap. And in issue 44, I got exactly that. But my next point, speaking of moments that felt earned, but it's Renee putting on the hat. Yeah, following her journey from Gotham Central all the way up until this moment, oh, it was such a good payoff. But at the same time, it felt like the only logical conclusion. Number 45, we've got the most important eBay auction in the world. And at the same time, I can sit here judging, saying there was more important things going on with the Metal Man and Black Adam, but if there was something I really wanted on eBay, I'd probably be exactly the same. Next up, we've got Batman's back and he's smiling. Now yeah, we knew Bruce would come back eventually, but seeing a grin on his face, I just wasn't prepared. Number 47, we've got the Nightwing Question team up that I never knew I needed. And you know what, if these two had a mini or an ongoing series, I would definitely be picking that up. After that, from issue 49, we've got the Metal Men attack. And what a fun little moment that we'd been building up to for ages that really had a great payoff. Number 49, and it's the fact that 52 issues weren't even enough, and we had to have a separate World War III miniseries. Like, if I was tasked with writing 52 issues, I'd probably be stalling for time a lot of it, but this one needed even more. And you know what, this miniseries about everyone going up against Black Adam, I really enjoyed it. Speaking of which, in number 50, we've got Black Adam versus the World. This was such a great fight that got everybody involved, and I loved how it was solved by Shazam just changing the password. Number 51, and from the penultimate issue, we've got Buddy Returns Home. What a journey that Animal Man had been on, and I just loved that he got the conclusion that he deserved. And my final greatest moment from 52 is when Booster Gold gets to say goodbye to his best friend. This was a moment I never realised I needed, but especially when I compare it to the opening, with him being this goofy gimmicky character, but we end with him being so mature and getting to say goodbye to Ted in a way that he doesn't have to spoil anything for him. I just love this, and especially because recently I read Infinite Crisis, so his death is so fresh in my mind. I just loved that at the very end of 52, he closed the door on that chapter and it felt like Booster could finally move on. He did so much growing over the series, he finally got to be a hero that people looked up to and respected, but this moment for him was definitely the most important, and for me, it's the perfect one to close out this list. But that's the video, hopefully you enjoyed it. It was a little bit different, so in the comment section below, let me know what you think of it, and along with what you think about 52 in general. But until next time, just make sure that you stay safe, and stay mad all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.